Number 1 reads, a mountain climbing expedition establishes 2 intermediate camps labeled at point A and B on the diagram here, okay? Above the base camp. X1 is 12,500 meters and X2 is 25,000 meters, okay? So we're climbing and we're also going to the east here. What is the magnitude delta R of the displacement between camp A and B? So this one is looking at displacement vectors, and we're just trying to figure out the final ascent here, okay? This one's not a traditional 4-step problem. What it is it's a vector problem. So really everything is done in step 1 right on our diagram, okay? The numbers given are 12,500 meters for your first horizontal displacement for X1. X2 is 25,000 meters. And the question is, what's this hypotenuse between camp A and camp B? So in other words, climbers would normally start at the base camp. They would climb to point A, and then they would climb to point B. And you got to plan out to have enough food, water. If you're bringing oxygen with you, you don't want to run out of oxygen, etc. You'll die, right? Okay? So notice here, this is a hypotenuse for our climb here, right? How are we going to find this hypotenuse? Well, this is a right triangle, which we can find right there, okay? And what do you know about a squared plus b squared? It's going to equal what? C squared, right? So if I could just find this side here and this side here, I'll be okay. Well, how do I find the distance between here and here? If I'm given x1 and x2, I can just subtract those two numbers, right? So this distance here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the diagram so it's a little bit easier to see, okay? Will just be the difference between x2 and x1. So it'll be 25,000 minus 12,500 meters. And when I do that, I get a difference of 12,500. So in other words, it's halfway, okay, horizontally. So A is equal to 12,500 meters, okay? Or 12.5 kilometers, whatever, right? Now how do I get this side of the triangle? Well, again, I have to look at my elevation change. This camp is at, camp A is at 3,200 meters above the base of the mountain. Point B is 4,900 meters. So if I just take the difference between the two, 4,900 meters, or 4.9 kilometers, minus 3,200 meters, it's 1,700 meters, okay? So finally, I can just use the Pythagorean theorem to get my hypotenuse, this side, delta R, and that's just going to be equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared, okay? So in other words, this is a basic right angle geometry, okay? It's just reading the diagram carefully and understanding what's going on. So if I take the square root of a squared, which is 12,500, 12.5 kilometers squared, plus b squared, 1,700 kilometers squared, take the square root of that whole thing, I'll get my final hypotenuse. It's a little bit over 12,600 kilometers, okay? So technically we're supposed to do sig figs. Looks like it's 3. If you give it one more, usually you're safe, okay? So like 12,600 kilometers. Or 12,600 meters or 12.6 kilometers, okay? Will be our final result there. So to summarize, all we're trying to do is read off the diagram to figure out the horizontal and vertical displacements of our mountain climb, and then we can find the final hypotenuse of the final climb there, okay? In real life, I don't think you could climb this in one day, because that's like a little over 5-6 miles, okay? But again, this is what you would plan in real life mountaineering there. So in a nutshell, that's number 1.